So this week's reading was about American Southern literature. So let's start with the first reading. A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. I feel like the grandma showed how the American South was the most with her stories and saying how things used to be. She talked about the large plantations which had graves of the families and large homes with big white pillars on the porch. Houses that were really only seen in the South. She also talked about how she remembered when there were no paved roads, they were all dirt, and travel time took a lot longer. Another way she shows this is by talking about how people were proud of where they came from and were respectful of their parents and elders, as well as people being more trustworthy, and everyone could leave their screen doors unlocked when they left their house without worrying about someone stealing stuff. Also, I felt like the narrative sounded more Southern. Next was A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. This story was pretty much about a young woman whom was kind of oppressed by her father and basically forbidden to marry. Once her father passed, she was still stuck in the tradition that her father set in, so she kept isolated from everyone. All the townspeople were very nosy and gossipy. Everyone wanted to know everything about other people. People wondered what was going on with her and how she was feeling because they only saw her Negro butler going in and out of the house. Women in this story commented by saying, just as if any man could keep a kitchen properly, because this was primarily a woman's duty in this time. Another Southern trait shows the prejudiced comment of no Negro woman should appear on the streets without an apron. The description of the house with the scrolled balconies also makes me think of beautiful Southern homes in this time. Everyone went to Emily's funeral because they were nosy and wanted to see what the inside of her home looked like now, and to try to discover what that awful scent coming from the home was. Next we read Visit of Charity by Eudora Welty. I didn't really understand how this was a literature piece. I thought the way people talked wasn't even portrayed as Southern. I simply thought it was a little selfish girl feeling uneasy in a nursing home, but not respecting her elders, whereas in A Good Man is Hard to Find, talks about how Southern kids were taught to be respectful to their elders. So I'm hoping someone else's response can show me better how this was a piece of American South theme. Last was The Worn Path by Eudora Welty. In this story, they are referring to this old African-American woman as a Negro. This poor lady was belittled by a young white hunter she encountered on her journey by being told she couldn't make it all the way to town and back and putting a gun in her face. He showed her disrespect, probably more because of her skin color. Also, the nurse at the doctor's office seemed very impatient with her and let her know that her grandson's medicine was provided for them as charity. This shows that African Americans were very looked down on and not seen as equals. Another way the South is shown in this is in the description of the different terrain and trees. They say the woods were deep and still, showing that they are basically surrounded by nothing but woods. Also by her saying up through the pines, now down through the oaks, and her journey through barbed wire fences and the cotton field really show how much different things she had to go through simply to go to town. I think one of the things that jumped out at me the most was Phoenix Jackson's clothes were described by saying she was wearing a long apron of bleached sugar sacks. This showed that she had just recently left the kitchen and tending to her family or whomever else she was cooking for.